A lot of CPG founders think this: if I could just get into more stores, everything changes. More retailers, more distribution, more sales. Well, that doesn't always equal more success. Because here's the problem nobody warns founders about. Think about it. You could be growing fast in grocery and still go broke. In fact, some grocery brands actually die right after landing their biggest retail opportunities. Not because demand disappeared, not because of that. Not because consumers stopped buying. Nope, not because of that. Not because of that. But because they fell into the cash flow trap. Yes, the cash flow trap. And this trap destroys brands every single year because grocery growth is expensive. That's the thing people don't realize. Inventory is expensive. Retail payment terms are brutal and agonizing. And scaling too quickly without understanding cash flow can quietly kill a business from the inside out. Yes, from the inside out. In this video, I'm going to break down a couple things. Why cash flow becomes dangerous in every grocery retail, and the biggest mistakes founders make, and how smart CPG brands avoid the trap before it's too late. Please remember, if you're building a grocery brand or trying to scale retail distribution, this is one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn. I mean, ever learn. Step 1, revenue and cash are not the same thing. I know I've said it before, but I want to make sure I emphasize this. This is one of the biggest mistakes new founders make. I mean, it's a big one. They confuse revenue with cash. They think, we're growing. We're getting bigger. We're selling products. We're doing all this. We're landing retailers. So we must be doing well financially, right? Wrong. Not necessarily. Because in grocery retail, you usually spend money long before you receive any money back. Please remember, let's walk through what actually happens so you understand what really goes down. A retailer places a purchase order to you. Sounds exciting, right? Yeah, I got a retail order, yeah. But before you get paid, you have to do the following things. Buy ingredients, buy packaging, pay for production, pay for freight, possibly pay brokers. That's 5. And sometimes even invest in promotions or trade spend. That's 6 things you have to do before you get paid. And after all that, like I said, you still have to wait to get paid. Sometimes 30 days, sometimes 60 days. Ooh. And with some big retailers, sometimes even 90 days. That means your business is constantly funding growth up front without any money coming in. And the faster you grow, the more cash you will need. That is why founders say things like, we're doing more sales than ever, but somehow we're running out of money. Starting to make sense why everybody's always raising money? Because sales growth and healthy cash flow are not the same thing. That's the first lesson you have to remember. And in grocery, cash flow matters just as much as revenue. Sometimes even more. Step 2, growth creates a cash gap. Here's the real danger, and here's how it starts. As distribution grows, your cash gap gets bigger. Yeah, think about it. Let's say you go from 50 stores to 500 stores. Yes, 50 to 500. Now suddenly you need the following: more inventory, larger production runs. You know that was going to happen. More warehouse space. That's going to cost you. More freight, more working capital, and of course, more operational support, because who's going to be able to do all these things? You got to hire somebody to run these things. But your payment timing usually does not improve. You still wait weeks or months to collect your cash for your product selling. The business starts stretching itself financially. Stretching. This is where brands begin relying on, of course you already know, credit cards, short-term loans, cash advances, or a founder's savings. You're putting everything in the business just so you can survive growth. That's the crazy part. And we all know that's dangerous, because one delayed shipment, one retailer deduction, or one forecasting mistake can create a major financial problem. And this is why it's the trap. Growth creates pressure, and not the good type of pressure. And if your cash reserves are weak, growth becomes stressful. Instead of exciting, joyful, and happy, you're sad and depressed. So here's the teaching point. Founders need to understand working capital before scaling aggressively. You need to visibly be in tune with your inventory levels, your payment timing, and your margins. Definitely your margin. Your margin structure you need to be in tune with. And future cash needs. Because if you don't manage the cash gap will eventually manage you. And it won't be pretty. Step 3. Inventory can destroy your cash flow. You're probably like, what? Yes. Inventory is one of the biggest hidden cash flow killers in CPG. Because inventory ties up cash. I mean, it literally ties it up. It's just sitting there, you're looking at it. The more inventory you carry, the more money is sitting on shelves, or in warehouses, or in transit. And many founders, well, we have a tendency to overproduce, especially after landing retail accounts. They start ordering huge amounts of product because they don't want to run out of stock. And because of that, here's the problem. Inventory does not become cash until it sells. And if velocity slows down, well, that inventory becomes tracked money. Now you're paying for, let's say, storage. You're also paying for aging inventory. You're also paying for possible spoilage if you have that type of product, and reduced flexibility. Meanwhile, your cash gets tighter and tighter and tighter. This is especially dangerous in food and beverage, where products can expire. If you have a product that needs to be cold and needs to be out the door, it's hurting you. A lot of founders think inventory equals growth, but that's not always correct. But smart operators understand this. Inventory is a cash flow decision, not just an operations decision. So here's the lesson. And like I always give you, a good lesson. Do not chase inventory volume blindly. Forecast carefully. Understand sell-through. And stay disciplined with production, especially when it comes to planning. Because too much inventory can quietly suffocate a growing brand. Step 4. Retailers have more power than most founders realize. If you haven't realized that, please do understand that. Retailers hold the key. This is another painful lesson in grocery. Retailers control timing, retailers control shelf space, and retailers, they control deductions. Ooh, the D word. And retailers usually have far more leverage than emerging brands. Sorry for you, you're not Coca-Cola, so you're not going to get what you always want. That means founders often underestimate chargebacks, late payments, promo expectations, slotting fees, and trade spend. The trade spend pressure that they will put on you. Those are 5 things you have to make sure you know about. And all of these things, they impact cash flow. A founder might think, well, we sold a huge order, so we're good. They like us. They care about us. But after deductions, freight, promotions, Retail fees, that actual profit may be much smaller than expected. And then you get a reality check. Because sometimes a lot of brands are barely making any money at all, and they need that large payment. Because that's why it's important that you understand gross margin and CPG. Not just sales, but margins. Because you cannot scale an unprofitable model forever. At some point, cash runs out. That's just what it is. So here's the teaching point. Please don't chase distribution at any cost. Make sure growth actually improves the business financially. Because bad growth can destroy a company faster than slow growth. Step 5. Smart brands build cash flow discipline. Early. The best grocery brands think, they all think differently when it comes to a couple things. They do not just focus on sales growth. They focus on sustainable growth. Yes, sustainable growth. Something you can keep going up and not go down, but go up. They understand cash conversion cycles, inventory management, gross margins, working capital, and operational efficiency. They build financial discipline early. Yes, they build that financial discipline early. And they avoid scaling faster than their infrastructure can support. Too many times we think in big deals, we need to think small deals. This is one of the biggest differences between brands that survive and brands that disappear, like a one-hit wonder. Because eventually every founder learns this lesson. And this is one, unfortunately, some learn later on. You cannot outgrow bad cash flow management. You just can't run from it. And at some point, the numbers catch up. The retail orders catch up. The out of stocks catch up. That's why smart founders stay focused on a couple things. Healthy margins, controlled expansion, inventory efficiency, and of course, operational discipline. Because you don't want to just be a flashy, growth announcing type of brand where you're always telling what you do. You want to be one of those brands that's able to survive, because survival matters more than hype. Remember that. Survival matters more than hype. So here's the big takeaway. The grocery industry has a hidden trap. Yes, a hidden trap. And that trap is cash flow. You can have growing sales. I mean growing sales. New retailer accounts. Consumer demand. Your social media is buzzing. People are loving. Expanding distribution. While still building an unhealthy business financially. Crazy, huh? That's why understanding cash flow is absolutely critical in CPG. So remember this. Revenue and cash are not the same thing. Growth creates larger cash gaps. Inventory can trap huge amounts of cash. I mean huge amounts of cash. Retailers create financial pressure through deductions and payment timing. Be prepared for that. And the strongest brands build financial discipline early, because in grocery retail, the goal is not just to grow, not just to expand. The goal is to grow profitably, sustainably, and survive long enough to build a real brand for the next 5 to 10 years that you're going to keep running it. If you're building a CPG brand, please comment below. Yeah, man, just comment below. What do you think is harder? Getting distribution or managing cash flow after you get it? And also, if you want more real-world CPG insights around retail, around operations, around growth, and scaling a grocery brand, I mean, yes, a grocery brand meaning your brand. You want to be in grocery, you want to scale it. Please make sure you subscribe, because this has been another CPG 101 with me, Eric. And I want to say thanks for tuning in.